be talking to you guys about academic continuity tools, equipping faculty, students, and their families for online learning. A little bit about the agenda. We'll be talking about context due to COVID-19, tools from Quality Matters, tools from SmarterServices, tools from IRSC, and a collection of other useful tools that you can use as far as academic continuity planning goes. Now I'd like to introduce our lovely panelists that we have here today. I've got Dr. Mac Adkins, founder and Chief Academic Officer of SmarterServices. He'll also be helping me facilitate this today. We have Stormy Beruvka. She is a student at Indian River State College. So we thank you so much for being here. She'll tell a little bit about her point of view. Dr. Leigh Clay, she is the Student Learning Coordinator and Adjunct Instructor at Indian River State College. And then we have Dr. Bethany Simunich here, Director of Research and Innovation at Quality Matters. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining us and being a part of our panel. I'm also going to go over a little bit more about who these people are and where they're from, so you'll know that. Let's start off with Quality Matters. So they're actually ahead of the game. They've been 100% virtual organization, so they've got a leg up when it comes to that. They've been that way since the start, so they're doing pretty good right now. They have 1,200 plus members, institutions in 49 states and 20 countries. They started back in 2006 as a nonprofit, and they have trained over 90,000 faculty and staff and over 3,500 QM certified reviewers, part of that. About SmarterServices, located in Prattville, Alabama, and also in Grand Rapids, Michigan, serve over 500 schools and 8 statewide consortiums. Established in 2002 and a consistent growth year after year for that. And they have an experienced team who believe education makes life better, and boy does it. We'll talk more about that for you today. And we also have Dr. Leigh Clay, who is from Indian River State College. I'm not sure, oh, there we go. It kind of skipped over you, but we have Dr. Leigh Clay and our student Stormy from Indian River State College in Fort Pierce, Florida. They were ranked #1 least expensive college in America. They were established way back in 1959, and they have an annual enrollment of over 13,000 students a year. All right, that was a lot of information, but now I'm going to pass it on to Dr. Mac Adkins. Like I said, he'll be helping facilitate, but he's going to move in right now to talk about the context due to COVID-19.
Okay, thank you, Danielle. What we want to do with this time today is share with you several tools that faculty and their institutions are using in this new environment in which we're finding ourselves. And this truly is a global environment. It's certainly a hot topic, as we had about 2,000 persons register for this webinar today. So we know that we're all asking that all-important question: what will fall semester look like? Or maybe even what will summer term look like? And so a couple of weeks ago, Educalls did a poll where they asked that very question, and that's what you're seeing here on the screen. And one thing that's obvious is that for the vast majority of us, fall will not look this year like it did last year. We're not sure what it's going to look like, but it will not be the same. At most institutions, it seems like hybrid learning will be the predominant form of delivery. And hybrid is some combination of online learning with some combination of face-to-face learning. This could look like if you've got a large lecture hall class that maybe meets on a Tuesday and a Thursday, that on Tuesday, half the class comes and the other half is virtual, and on Thursday, the other half comes with the rest being virtual. There can be all sorts of combinations of the way that we do hybrid learning, but it's obvious that many institutions are looking at that as a solution. A second question that Educalls asked was about technology access. One thing that became painfully obvious, and much more to the degree than we were perhaps aware of, is the fact that the digital divide is very real. Back when this crisis first broke and many schools moved immediately to online instruction, it became clear that there are many, many persons who do not have the technology and or the internet access in their homes to continue their education. And so this was a real problem. Many things have been done, many more things are continuing to be done, What you see here on the screen are the efforts that many schools are taking by providing equipment, whether that be Chromebooks or digital hotspots. Many things can be done. So if you're not familiar as a faculty member what your institution is doing to help students with technology access, ask around, find out what that is so that when your students come to you, you'll be equipped with that answer so that we can help all students have access to the learning that they need. EDUCAUSE asked several things. I'm just showing you 3 of them here, but one of the questions they asked was about assessment, because it's so important in an online context that we assess learner mastery. And so how is that going to be done in this new fully online or hybrid environment? And what you see here on the screen is that most instructors will continue to assess using an assessment, using an exam. A very high number also will be moving to some form of authentic assessment, whether that's project-based or skills or competency-based. And then there at the bottom, you see that it's broken out a little bit further for those who are doing some sort of assessment and they're doing that online. What does that look like? Are you locking down the browser? Are you passively monitoring the video? Are you actively monitoring the video? Lots of different shapes that assessment can take. And so you see here sort of where that shakes out among the other institutions in the country. Now, it was good that EDUCAUSE took that survey, but I would like to know, of all of the attendees here today, where do you stand? So if you're a faculty member, respond to this poll. I'm going to go ahead and launch this poll. Is of these different delivery systems, what are you planning on using in your class? If you're an administrator, maybe answer representatively of the faculty at your institution, what instructional delivery systems will they be using? So I'm watching these come in now. Parallel with EDUCAUSE, hybrid is in the lead at the moment. Fully online is close behind. Face-to-face is that it's still there. The poll's been going for 30 seconds. We'll let it go just for a little bit more. Okay, so I'll go ahead and end the poll and I will share the results. And so you guys should be seeing that. And parallel with the findings of the EDUCAUSE survey is that hybrid courses seem to be the dominant delivery system, and those can take many forms. So as we're talking about tools today, these will be tools that you can use in hybrid instruction. We've assembled a great panel today. They've got lots of practical, relevant information and tools that they'll be sharing with you. So I do hope that you find some takeaways that you can use in those hybrid or fully online or face-to-face courses. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing that poll. And now we'll move over to Dr. Simunich from Quality Matters.
Thank you so much. So on the screen here, you can see that we have a variety of tools already available to help meet the needs of both higher ed and K-12 instructors. Quality Matters created a publicly available checklist tool to help you pivot quickly from face-to-face to remote instruction. So we call it the Emergency Remote Instruction Checklist, or ERIC, and it provides actionable strategies and steps that's in a phased format so that you can concentrate first on those immediate needs of your face-to-face students who, let's not forget, they were also abruptly thrust into the online classroom. And we had a companion presentation for the checklist that was really geared towards helping you, process it and move through it. And that ended with some takeaways for moving into a more quality-focused direction. And we also had a public webinar with this that began the discussion for how you can take where you are now and start to build on those successes that you and your students had with remote instruction and bridge to quality so that you can do a more purposeful design and a deeper consideration for your active online or hybrid teaching. So we are building a companion tool for that as well, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Next slide, please. Okay, so CUM also offers the Accessibility and Usability Resource Site, or ARS, A-U-R-S, and this is also a free resource where educators can get information on how to address key accessibility and usability concerns. So there's a wealth of information on this site already for topics like universal design for learning, creating accessible PDFs and video captioning. The site is crowdsourced from the QM community, so it really shows the power of our members and the expertise of all of you, and it continues to grow. So we're curating it, and new topics and resources are added quarterly. Next slide, please. Okay. QM has also created targeted professional development to help institutions both meet the needs of students as well as their own institutional goals for quality learning during this, yes, unprecedented time. So as we all move forward now with a little bit more time and a little bit more clear focus. So Dr. Adkins, as you mentioned, things are still up in the air a little bit for fall, but we have had a chance at least to kind of breathe and say, no matter what's happening for fall, we still want to offer the best that we can for our students now that we have a little bit more time to think through that and what it is. So as we all move forward now, we know that we need to better prepare for the type of quality of online learning that we want to offer our students. And to that end, QM has put together some dedicated packages to help faculty and schools focus on, again, Dr. Adkins, as you mentioned, assessment. That's one of the biggest topics right now. It's probably the topic that we receive most questions on during that shift to remote teaching. How do I appropriately assess students online? So assessment is one thing that we focused on in the professional development. Also engaging online learners. I personally, heard from a lot of faculty that they felt that distance. They felt as though they weren't connecting with their students. So we talk about things like teaching presence, social presence, cognitive presence, those parts of the community of inquiry framework that I know many of you have heard of. So a lot of that focus is on engaging students, making sure we're focusing on that good, applied, and authentic assessment, and also things to help faculty really get up to speed more quickly so that institutions can strategically focus on the type of faculty professional development that will meet their goals, not just for academic continuity, but also laying a strong foundation for quality online learning moving forward. And as I mentioned just a bit ago, QM's current focus, and we're working really hard to get this released for you, is helping everybody bridge from their remote instruction to quality online and hybrid learning. So I noticed in the last poll that a lot of you are focusing on hybrid. I saw in the chat a lot of you are focusing on high flex. And the truth is, focusing first on a good quality design is going to provide you the optimal flexibility for whatever modality you find yourself in, or that your students find yourselves in. So if you're having some hesitations or anxiety about fall because you're thinking, well, I might start off teaching in one modality, and what if I'm in the same situation? What if I have to quickly switch to a different modality? Having a quality aligned design is going to provide you with the optimal flexibility there. So you'll have a greater ease in that transition. So that's the focus for the next thing that we're offering everybody. And it has that deepened focus on design, including alignment and teaching presence. So later this month, we'll be releasing a design guide that will help you bridge to quality and will also serve as a phased, stepwise approach to meeting your instructional design needs and goals moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Bethany. I think there's never been a time in the history of your 20-year history as an organization that your name is more important than ever, because now quality continues to matter. Even though we're doing emergency remote instruction and things look different, we need to focus on quality to make sure that we're providing that teaching and learning as students expect. So thank you for sharing those resources that Quality Matters is providing. So let me share with you now a little bit of information about 3 tools that we here at SmarterServices are providing. And I've got to tell you, it's really been professionally fulfilling to be a part of an organization that's well positioned, just as Quality Matters is, to provide resources that truly are relevant in helping schools and their faculty respond and serve their students in the midst of this crisis. The first thing we provide is the Smarter Measure Learning Readiness Indicator. This construct of learner readiness has never been more important than it is today, especially online learner readiness or readiness for learning in a technology-rich environment, because many persons did not sign up for this. They signed up for face-to-face learning, and perhaps they made that decision because they knew intuitively that their goodness of fit for hybrid or online learning may not be as strong as their goodness of fit for face-to-face learning. So what the Smarter Measure Learning Readiness Indicator does is that It lets a student understand their level of goodness of fit, their level of readiness for learning in that technology-rich environment, whether it's a hybrid course or a fully online course. And not only does it make that student aware of their strengths and their opportunities for improvement, but it maps that to resources for support and remediation that their school provides. And that's really where it becomes very practical. One of the sections of that assessment that schools are now finding more relevant than ever is the technology access section. That's exactly because of the digital divide that the EDUCAUSE survey pointed to. Many students don't have the technology access. So how do you as an organization know who are those students? Well, this assessment, one of the sections of it, asks those questions where the students report things about their primary computing device. They report things about their level of internet access. And so that section has been very important for many schools in targeting those students that they need to reach out to and make them aware of those strategies that their school is using, whether they're loaning Chromebooks or whatever it is that they're doing. You need to know which students need the help, because many times they may be hesitant to reach out. Another section of the assessment that many schools have found to be especially relevant during this crisis is individual attributes. This is the section that measures things like motivation, procrastination, willingness to ask for help, locus of control, things that really define the learner's learning personality. And they bring that personality with them into this new delivery system. And sometimes there's a better goodness of fit than others. And so it's a very relevant section. A third section that's really, really relevant is their life factors, their learning environment. Where are they now participating in their course? Is it at the kitchen table? Is it on the couch in the den? What's that environment like? Is it quiet? Is it rowdy with children running all around? All of those things are variables that the student needs to think about, and then think about how they can make that environment more conducive to their learning. Other things that the assessment measures are skills such as on-screen reading or keyboarding or their writing skills. And there's many places that institutions position this assessment. I know many of you on this conversation today are faculty members. One place that we see the assessment often positioned is just in an academic course, often in an early course like an English 101, so that the student very early in their experience gets to measure their level of readiness. So you as a faculty member can position it just in your course. At other schools, they position it more in an enterprise-wide model, maybe in an orientation course or a first-year experience or somewhere in their recruiting cycle or admissions or advising. There's no right and wrong place to put it, but I do encourage you to use this assessment. If not this assessment, use some assessment to help students understand their readiness for learning in this new context, because that's so important for their experience as a learner. Second tool that we provide is SmarterID. You know, there's just a level of anonymity that's present in a hybrid or an online course that's not there in a face-to-face course. And a student can hide behind that level of anonymity and get someone else to do their work. So it's very important that we know who is doing the work in the online and in the hybrid course. We are familiar with using facial recognition in virtual proctoring, so that at the time the student is taking that online virtual exam, it's commonplace to use facial recognition to make sure the right person is taking the exam. But as we said in the EDUCAUSE survey, many instructors are using authentic assessment. You're using project-based and scenario-based and other tasks the students do. How do you know then that the right person, that the student who's getting the credit for the course is the person doing the work? Because what we're seeing is that there are lots of helicopter parents out there, especially while their kids returned home from college and the parents are helping them do the work. You've got helpful spouses. Now that we're all home together, we're helping out more than ever, maybe even with our classwork. You've got friends, and you even have people that you can pay to do your work for you. So it's very important that we understand who is doing the coursework. The way it works is that you as the faculty member or an instructional designer determines these prompts, these points in the course where you want to request authentication, and then you determine the frequency of that. So it may depend on the nature of the assignment. So maybe like 10% of the time when they're uploading a discussion board posting, or 40% of the time when they're working on a particular course task, they can be prompted to authenticate. We chose facial recognition because it's highly accurate, it's minimally invasive, and it's easily completed. We're also going to be soon adding to that keystroke analysis to make it even more accurate. The third tool that we provide that we encourage you to use it or use something like it is Smarter Proctoring. Now think about this. You as an organization, you individually as a faculty member in your course, you are a credentialing entity. When you assign a grade in a course, you're saying to the world that this person possesses this level of competency. So when they go out into the world as a professional, you're vouching for what they know. So you need to be sure when you give that grade, and your institution needs to be sure when it awards that degree, that that person does have that level of competency, that they can be a professional in their field. And so one of the best ways to do that, and as our colleague from Quality Matters said, assessment is so important. And so it's so important to do that assessment in a controlled, monitored environment that will add credibility to that grade. So the person who is well prepared for that assessment can emerge from that assessment in that monitoring environment feeling confident that they've demonstrated their acumen and that their grade and their degree represents that to the world. So lots of tools out there for proctoring. We encourage you to take a look at Smarter Proctoring. It does offer the widest array of proctoring modalities of any of the proctoring solutions out there. What we do, we consider it a multimodal proctoring process management system. We allow students right within the LMS to register for the full spectrum of proctoring modalities. You, as the instructor, may be proctoring your exam locally, especially in your hybrid courses. Maybe for the students who've been coming to class on Tuesday, you're going to be proctoring it on Tuesday at a certain time. For those who've been coming on Thursday, maybe you'll be proctoring on Thursday. You could use Smarter Proctoring to allow the students to register to let you know which students are coming at what day and what time to take that exam with you. Or maybe your students will be going to the testing center at your institution. Or maybe your students are online and they live near a university that's not the one they're enrolled in, but a university that has a testing center, and they would like to take the test there. We have a nationwide database of hundreds of collegiate and professional testing centers at which they can schedule to take their exam. Or you may approve a proctoring professional, which is someone like the HR director at a corporation where the student works. And in addition to all those face-to-face modalities, we also have embedded in Smarter Proctoring a fully automated as well as a record and review virtual proctoring tool. And then we partner with two other companies, ProctorU and Examity, for live virtual proctoring. So right within one interface, right there in the LMS, without ever leaving the course, the student sees all of those options for proctoring that your school has selected. They can then register for those options. It walks them down the yellow brick road of what they do every step along the way. It's a great process to help students go through this otherwise confusing process of preparing for taking their exams. Automated proctoring is something that many institutions have been really interested in, especially in this crisis. That's because it has the least cost. There's no scheduling for it. It's very easy to onboard students. It's constantly supporting, and there is immediate reporting of that. So if you haven't taken a look at automated proctoring and you're thinking that may be something that's a good fit for your course, reach out and let us show you what that looks like. So now that we here at Quality Matters and SmarterServices have shared a bit about some of the tools that we offer, glad to hear from our colleagues at Indian River State College about some of the tools and techniques that they've used. So thank you, Dr. Clay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adkins. So before I begin talking about what I'm going to talk about, I wanted to share a story because I think stories help to define, who we are and what we do. So today I had two things happen to me. One made me really happy and the other very much frustrated me. So I'm going to start with the frustrating one so we can end on a happy note. But this morning when I woke up and went and got my laptop, I noticed that it hadn't charged very much. It was about halfway charged. So I figured the outlet was broken. And so I switched it to a new outlet and started charging it again. And a little bit later, I noticed that it still hadn't charged any. So at this point, maybe it's my cord. So I switched charging cords, to see if that helped. And of course it didn't. So now it's my computer that's broken. So I wanted to print notes for this presentation because I like having things in my hands. You know, sometimes it's nice to have like a physical copy. So I wanted to get those notes printed before my computer died and just became a useless brick. But of course my computer wouldn't connect to my printer. So alas, I wasn't able to get those notes printed. So here I have them online. I have them in a different screen. That was my very frustrating experience with technology this morning. My happiness came in the form of 2 emails that I got. It was, they both had the same topic and I was so happy to read about it. I don't know if any of you else are on the same servers or listservs that I'm on, but there were 2 articles that talked about trauma-informed care. I teach criminal justice and I teach a victimology class that's very heavily, it has trauma-informed care in it all the time. But these 2 articles were related to trauma-informed care in higher education. And I was just so very excited to see that kind of mind shift. So I had the frustrating incident with technology, but that very happy, like excitement that trauma-informed care was being mentioned in higher education. Okay, so there's my story. So I'll get started with what I want to talk about. So we all know that our environment shifted, right? And we're all humans and we all respond to our environment, and that's in very different ways. Our environment shifted greatly the past 3 or 4 months. I know you all feel that. So when your routines or food quantity or temperature or noise level change, you know, we all have behavioral, psychological, physiological reactions to those environments. So I'm sorry to lecture you, but I'll never miss an opportunity to give a lecture. I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. So I want to give you an example, like a simple example. I'm from Florida. I saw a couple of you in the chat that were also from Florida. It's very hot down here, right? We're very AC dependent. We have some of the best AC in the world down here, I would say. So mine broke last week. You know, I think that's almost worse than alligators. That's like the most fearful thing that we have down here in Florida is your AC breaking. So my AC broke. So what happens? My environment shifted, right? Temperature changed. I got hot, sweaty, grumpy. Then I had to pay for it, so I got even grumpier. So it was a very simple way that you can see how environment kind of shifts how you act. And that kind of brings us in the right mindset. So we shifted very abruptly to remote learning in the spring. And it shifted our world a lot. So we had to make sure that our technology, our students' technology, our children's technology was current and running. And that goes back to the digital divide that Dr. Adkins was talking about, right? Do our students, do our children, do we have the technology that's appropriate for remote learning? So all of us were in flux together, and it was just it was a very rapid whirlwind time. All right, next slide, please. Thank you. So I want all of you to kind of visualize what you've adjusted to in the past few months. What do we have to do to think about education and ensure that it's like successful and that it's continuing? Just think about what goes into a single webinar, this webinar, or any lecture that you're giving for your class. You have to mute your microphone when you're listening, right? Like all of us good presenters did. You have to unmute it when you're speaking though. So what if you forget to unmute? No one's gonna hear me. You have to mute all the notifications on your desktop so nobody knows that you're also talking on WhatsApp or anything like that. So you have to make sure that you're muting those as well. You have to know if there's going to be video. Do you need to brush your hair? Is your bed made behind you? Do you have clutter all over your desk? Is my cat on my keyboard? Because that also happens sometimes. Are your children asking you questions about what's going on? So, you know, you have to look at your work voicemail. It's a little bit more difficult if you're not in the office. I haven't been in the office since the middle of March, so I've had all my calls forwarded to a Google number, so it's just an extra step that we kind of had to do. You've had to maybe buy technology. I had to purchase a Chromebook for one of my children to be able to use for school, you know, because they're home now. You had to learn maybe new technology that you had never used before, just to make sure that you were able to do remote learning. And then you had to learn how to connect in an online environment. I've taught in-person, hybrid, and online, and they're all very different. And you reach your students in very different ways in all of those kind of modalities. But because of the fear of, you know, maybe will I get sick? Will I not have enough groceries? Will I get enough, you know, time to do my work? everyone just had this sense of fear. But I think because of that fear, there was also a sense of resilience and creativity that we all had, that a lot of people in higher education especially had. So I'm going to talk about a few things that we did at Indian River State College. I had the privilege of being an adjunct instructor in our criminal justice department. And I also work in our virtual campus as a student learning coordinator. So part of my responsibility is helping our students and making sure that they have the right tools and the right information to access our learning management system correctly, you know, to make sure that they're able to do their schoolwork. So first, if we could change the slide, I'll talk about what I personally did in my classroom to kind of set the stage and make the transition easier. So I think it was Bethany, Dr. Bethany, that said something about remote, and it's kind of, it has this connotation sometimes. In remote learning, it refers to distance, right? A student, they don't have to be in the classroom to complete their studies. But remote can also have this negative feeling, right? It can indicate standoffishness or detachment. And a lot of people equate that kind of feeling with online learning in general. And that's something, it's not the same, you know? You can have a presence in your classroom. It's different than your in-person classroom. Like, you guys can see me right now, I'm very excited. You know, that's easier to convey in an in-person classroom from visual cues than it is in an online environment. But that's just something that, that you just have to learn how to do. So in my classrooms, I've been doing alterations for a while. So I'm pretty fluid. If something's wrong or broken or needs changing, I fix it, right? Or I try to fix it, or I replace it with something else. So the pandemic actually forced me to be more like that. I had to be more flexible. I had to be, you know, more fluid. I had to kind of search for different solutions a lot of the times. So in my classroom, I had to be flexible, and this is all personal preference with due dates. I know, you know, some people are very set in stone about them, but for myself, I found students emailing me and my mom and my brother and sister are all using the Wi-Fi, so I can't quite get my, you know, my work done, or we're all sharing a device. Could I have a little bit of an extension on an assignment? So taking those types of things into consideration was important. I opened up more material than I normally would. And I did that, so we have modular designs in our classroom. So generally in criminal justice classes, we have 6 modules. So rather than just opening 1 module at a time, I opened 2 modules at a time. So if a student had their device and they had time and they had Wi-Fi and their kids were sleeping and they wanted to get as much done as they could, I gave them that flexibility to do those types of things. So just a little bit of a change, so they would have access to material, you know, more material at a time. Submission of alternative formats. I like to have my students create presentations in class, you know, because I mean, that's a really good skill for, I think, so many different career choices to be able to create a presentation. But I also offered them the ability to submit it in different formats. They could use VoiceThread, they could do a PowerPoint and attach that audio to the PowerPoint. If they wanted to do some sort of video on their phone or something like that, I gave them that open kind of that ability to turn in whichever format works for them. Because some of our students, I guarantee it, are using their phone for a lot of their work. So just knowing that, I tried to be a little bit more flexible in the type of formats that I accepted. Open to topics. I'm a huge fan of this. And like I said, some of this is very, very personal preference, but my students get so excited, you know, when you give them a little bit of guidance and you say, I teach criminal justice, so pick a case, you know, or pick something and write about that and relate it to theories rather than giving them the case and being a little bit more rigid in that way. So I'm just more open to having them choose their topics and bringing it back to the main points in theory and such like that. I also add personalization to my classes. I have an introduction video. I talk about who I am and what we're gonna be learning in the class. I do a new one every single semester. I also put a picture of me and my 2 kiddos in the syllabus so they can see that I'm a real person, you know, and I'm there, and other sorts of things in the class. I always put videos in there just so they know that a real person is on the other end. This semester, we got a new tool in our LMS. I'm really excited about it. You can leave video feedback for students. So I left every single student in one of my class a short video. I said their names. I think that's very important. Like, hello, Bethany. Hello, Mac. You know, great job on your work. Just to see that I was actually there reading what they did, and letting them know that a person's there. And be clear about how students can contact you. Some of us prefer email. Some of us prefer course messages. Others prefer texting or whatnot. So just be clear in how and when and what time it's okay for students to reach out to you and when you're going to get back to them. And those things, adding flexibility and adding personalization to my classes, I think they reduce barriers and hesitancy, because sometimes there's a hesitancy about online learning. And there are definitely barriers to online learning, technological barriers, self-direction barriers, you know. So I think when you remove barriers and you let your students know that you're there for them, it makes online learning, remote learning, have a different feel. So that's personally what I did inside of my classroom. Oh, I didn't mention that I put tool links in my classroom. This was something, I don't know if you ever realize something so simple that you should have been doing for a really long time, and you finally, like a light bulb goes on and you're like, oh, I should have been doing this forever. So I put links inside of each of my classes to our personal online tutoring that we offer at IRSC, and then an outside online tutoring that we offer right in the class, so the students didn't have to go to our website and click it. So I did that, and it was a lot easier. So that was also personalizing and removing barriers. So those are things I did in my classroom. I will go to the next slide and talk about things we did at IRSC. So we kind of took a holistic approach at IRSC. In the virtual campus, we divided and conquered. We chose students, faculty, and staff to have them prepared for the transition to remote learning. You know, students, a lot of them, it's new for them. We have something called our virtual campus orientation. All of our new online students, we put into this kind of sandbox that they can get experience in the online learning environment. We had the Smarter Measure assessment in there. It's one of their assignments that they have to do. So students get to see their strengths and areas of improvement, and suggestions for how to work on that. For faculty, we did a lot of sessions, right? We did a lot of live remote sessions, live help sessions, just to give them the tools that they needed to be prepared for the online learning environment. We made them aware of our resources that we have for students, right? You can send your student to tutoring, you can refer them to tutoring. We have this online readiness assessment. We also, a lot of our courses that had never been taught online before, we kind of loaded them with a template, just a very simple template to provide a little bit of guidance on what a good quality online class looks like. And these were kind of mirrored after the quality matters classes that we have. So in our staff, we also did webinars because our advisors, you know, did a lot of remote work as well, like advising students remotely. So we had sessions for them. We worked with them to create a comprehensive list of resources for students. I attended webinars hosted by other departments, and I learned quite a few things. So I suggest doing that if you can as well, and collaborating with them whenever possible. I think that's a very important thing. And then I will move to my last slide. Try not to take up too much of your time. Thank you. Okay, so just a few things I want you to keep in mind when you're preparing your students for online learning, preparing yourself for remote and online learning as well. Be enthusiastic. You guys can see me. I'm really excited almost about everything. So take that energy and put it in your online classes. It really makes a difference. And even online, you can spread that kind of enthusiasm and desire to learn in your students. Have empathy. Humans, you know, I think that's one of our best qualities, is that we're very empathetic. And I don't mean just have empathy for your students. I mean, have it for yourself as well, right? So when I first started teaching online, I was fine at it. I wasn't an expert or whatnot, you know, but over the years I've grown and I've learned. So some of you were thrust into this very abruptly. So have empathy with yourself. Choose a few things to kind of learn every week. Know the tools that are available at your institution, right? And use them and refer students to them and share them with your colleagues. Be help seeking. I ask questions, you know, I do research first, and if I can't answer the question, I will ask whoever I need to get in touch with to find the answer. A tool that I love is looking at other people's classes. If you have colleagues who have taught online for a while, ask them if you can be a student in their class and check it out. The way that I've done this the most is when we do the internal review process with the QM rubric. I get to see other colleagues' classes, and sometimes I'm like, wow, I never thought of doing that. So it's really, really exciting to kind of see the different things. But if you have colleagues, ask them to share their virtual environments with you so you can maybe learn a few things. And then the last thing, spark the desire to learn. We have time at home now, right? Read a book if you have a moment. Sign up for an online class. There's tons of free ones out there. I just recently started learning, I won't say I am learning, it's very hard, to code in Python or program in Python. It's very difficult, it's way outside of my wheelhouse, but I'm starting to do that. I was so proud when I wrote my first code. I printed it out and put it on the fridge. So do that. And now I look at criminal justice in a little bit of a different way and try to integrate the two. So I'm really excited, and that helps you and that helps your students just really flourish. So that is all I have to share with you. Thank you guys so much. And I'm excited for our next speaker here.
All right, Dr. Clay, thank you so much for sharing those personal things that you did as well as the things that your institution did. And I'll allow you to introduce Stormy, who's been one of your students.
Yeah, oh, I'm so excited to introduce Stormy. She is fantastic. I've worked in the virtual campus for a little bit over a year now, and she had been one of our wonderful work study students there in the virtual campus. So she's also a digital media student pursuing her bachelor's right now. So I'm going to turn it over to her and let her talk about how the transition during the spring and then summer has kind of affected her.
Okay, hi. I'm hoping everybody can hear me. Okay, awesome. So yes, as Leigh said, I'm a digital media student pursuing my bachelor's degree at the time being. And I'm also a work study at IRSC. So I think that classes during the spring semester were the hardest to adjust to because we were already accustomed to them being meetings in person, going out and actively engaging with other people and being able to talk directly to our professors if we had questions or concerns. So I think the spring semester was the hardest to adapt to because our schedules changed in so many ways. However, going into the summer semester was pretty easy. What I did when I signed up for classes was try to think about ones that would be better suited for a quick learning process, right? So summer classes, they go by in a flash. So I tried to pick something that I would be able to process in such a short time period, as well as something that would be suited for online learning. So I ended up going with American history as well as theater. And so far, both classes have been a breeze. I haven't had any problems, and I haven't personally had to reach out to the instructors, but seeing all the things that they've posted so far, this is how to contact me if you have any questions, and just updating their students, no, this is test, it says on the syllabus, yes, it's supposed to be taken in the Proctor Testing Center, but it's not. The syllabus is old, so do not go to a testing center to take your test. They were very, very thorough about that and making sure their students understood, I think. As for spring and summer, both semesters, I've had to work very hard to organize things. Generally, I think I'm a pretty organized person, but even just the change for learning online is still very hard for a lot of people to learn and adapt to. I have 3 different calendars. I have one on my whiteboard that's on my wall in front of my door, so I see it as soon as I come into my bedroom. I have one on my phone's calendar as well, and another in a actual book agenda. I write down a few different things on every single calendar, so that way I'm reminded. On my phone, I'll have tests and papers and big assignments that have important, very strict deadlines that'll remind me a day or 2 in advance of when they're due. So that way I'm oh, I have to work on that. But I think having multiple calendars is very good. And I personally check my book agenda probably twice a day, and I look in advance because I filled it out at the very beginning of the semester. So that way I'm able to possibly work ahead. So like throughout the week, I'll look ahead maybe to the next week just to see what I have to look forward to and plan ahead of time. So like, for example, this week, I actually completed 3 days worth of assignments all on Monday. I just finished it. So that way I would have 3 days off to focus on other things like family or completing work. Which I think is something else that is another challenge with doing remote learning. Balancing my at-home work has become like a struggle almost, but I've adapted slowly but surely, especially with all 3 calendars. But finding the motivation to complete classwork and like, it's hard to find it. Like, I don't know if I'm speaking on behalf of like all students, but I know my friends have also found that motivation is very hard to come by. So whenever I'd run into this problem, I would try to remind myself to look at my schedule, stick to it, and know that if I get everything planned, done, I'll be able to relax and have some downtime. And taking a breather and having scheduled downtime is super important, as several faculty members have suggested throughout my 2 years of attending IRSC, especially for students who haven't done online classes before, which I have. I finished my last 2 semesters of high school strictly online. So I'm a little more familiar with the process, and I think I have a slight advantage to the remote learning than some other students may have. And I think also another reason that a lot of students may be struggling is because for like a motivation is because of all the social distancing right now and all the other crazy things that are going in the world. Like, we're not seeing our friends or professors or getting out of the house to enjoy things like movies or just being able to hang out and relax, you know, see your friends, see your family, get your mind off of thinking constantly about school or work. I think to help myself deal with that, I've been trying to schedule things like movie nights or live streams. I do freelance digital commission work, so I work on those during those live streams, or even just voice chatting. I think it's really important for students to make sure they have time to relax, to make sure that they're able to get as much socialization in as they want and need. So that way they're kind of, you know, they're still adapting to the online classes and the stay-at-home life, but they're still getting that socialization and setting some sort of schedule down for themselves to stick to, so that way they don't lose complete motivation. And I don't know, I think that's about it. Was there any other questions?
No, thank you so much, Stormy, for sharing that with us. It's so important for us as faculty and administrators to hear from students. One, to help us just remind us that the struggle is real. All students' experience is different. Every student's experience is unique, but it is an experience and it is a challenge. And even for, you know, experienced online learners like you to say, hey, I have to use a technique like 3 calendars to keep myself organized. And even with that level of organization, I still find motivation difficult. That's reality, right? Those internal attributes and the life factors are so important in the student experience. So now as we move close to the end, I want to launch another poll, and it's about tools. In fact, in just a moment, I'm going to share with you a screen view of a handout that we're going to send you following up on the webinar. But for now, I'd like for you to vote and check all of these that apply. Of all of these different categories of tools that you're using in your instruction, or maybe that you're encouraging students to use, as you're voting there, I'll just say, like for calendar, when I first put that on there, I'm like, well, that's an obvious one, right? But you just heard Stormy say that it's so important to use a calendar or multiple calendars. And so for you as a faculty member to inform your students about different calendars that are available, that could make the difference for them. And on the side I'm about to show you, and will also be on the handout, there's going to be several different free calendar apps that students can use. One is specifically for students as a student calendar app. So we've got our results are coming in. Let that go just a little bit longer. I know this list took a little bit of time to read through. Okay, we'll go ahead and stop that for now and show you those results. And so this is just an overview of the different kind of tools. Calendars, that was the top thing that you're making students aware of, is how to stay organized. That was especially relevant in Stormy's experience. Thanks for bringing that out. And that was unrehearsed, by the way. We didn't know what she would say, but it's great to see that the faculty members' experience and what you're providing is congruent with the students' experience of what was important to them. And you'll see other things there. Glad to see the mindfulness factor is something that you're making students aware of. So let me move to this last screen, and we're going to be providing this to you guys in a handout afterwards. Like this My Study Life is a very good free online calendar tool that's specifically for students and the way it prompts students about assignments and such. As I was working on this deck yesterday, Campus Technology came out with really a list of lists. It's a list of free and discounted ed tech tools, much longer than is here, but that's linked to from this. So check that out if you're looking for lots of tools. Of course, the ones that were mentioned in this conversation today, the emergency remote instruction checklist, the 3 tools that we provide at SmarterServices. Here is one, as you heard Dr. Clay say, she uses these video responses back to her students. She records this video at the beginning of every course. Make it look good. For a very small investment, less than $40, you can get a lamp on a stand, as well as a USB tripod microphone to really improve your lighting and sound, right? You'd want to lecture in a very nice classroom. So, make a little investment to make your online lectures look good as well. The mindfulness factor, glad to see that was well represented in the survey. I really like ones like Stop, Breathe, and Think, which prompt you at times during the day to do exactly that, to stop, to breathe, and to think. And that's so important. And as you heard Dr. Clay and Stormy both say, we've got to have empathy on ourselves, right? This is new for much of us. We want to provide lots of very rich resources to our students in fully online courses and in hybrid courses, since they may not be getting, some of that interaction that we get in a face-to-face course. There's no reason for you to reinvent the wheel. Look at resources like Merlot, OER Commons. There's thousands of well-designed digital learning objects that you can search for by the subject matter of your course. And then these are open for you to use in your course. So take a look at that. As was shown early in the EDUCAL survey, lots of teachers are using authentic forms of assessment for students to demonstrate mastery. So if you're putting students like in a group and they're doing some sort of group project, this is a great time to allow them to use project management software like Trello or Asana, which is both pieces of software that we use as a company here at SmarterServices. So when you are allowing or prompting your students to use that kind of management software, they're going to have experience of that, and they can talk to their employers about that as they're interviewing for jobs. They're going to be equipped to use these digital collaboration tools in the real workplace because you've integrated them into your course. Video creation, as Dr. Clay was saying, it's great to have video content. I love Vidyard, which is super because you can have a browser open. It's going to put a little circle down at the bottom with your talking head in it, right? And you're talking about whatever's on the screen. Just a great way to add interactivity to your content. And then obviously web conferencing is a big way that we live these days. If you're not familiar with what web conferencing tool that your school has approved, ask around, find out what that is. So I hope that these conversations today have been helpful to you. I hope these lists of tools that have been described by us at SmarterServices, by Quality Matters, by the tools and the strategies used there at RSC has been practical and relevant for you. We've got some questions that have come in, so I'm going to pause now and see if Danielle has some of those she's been monitoring to see if there's some we may be able to address in our final 5 minutes.
Yeah, thanks, Mac. I really appreciate that. So I love this question. how do you help teachers who are resistant to change transitioning to online teaching? Does anybody want to tackle that? Does anybody have any ideas on how to tackle that?
I will try to tackle it.
Yes, go ahead.
The word try. I would say first and foremost, listen and understand, because you know, faculty are going through a similar thing to students, just as we talked about in this webinar today. It's a lot of transition and change. And it's not just about learning new teaching strategies and new skills. It's also reimagining and getting your mind wrapped around your differing role as an instructor in the online classroom. So it's a mental shift that really has to happen first before you dive into the, okay, this is how you do it. And I found that when we spend that time to have those crucial conversations first with faculty and hear their concerns and hear what's working and maybe what didn't work, we can really, you know, set a good firm foundation for how to move forward, because it's really these same things. When you move to online teaching, and this is how I felt when I moved from face-to-face to online, I felt as though I was no longer connected to my students. I didn't know how to engage them in the online, you know, classroom. And I realized that I really had never spent the time on course design that I should have. So when I moved into online teaching, it actually truly strengthened and improved my face-to-face teaching. So that's something else that I would convey. So listen to faculty, understand what they're going through as well, so that we know best how to help. Let them know that if they're spending time right now in faculty development for online teaching, it is not wasted time. We have research that says it improves your classroom teaching. So even if remote or online is something that's temporary for you, you're going to learn new strategies and pedagogies that are going to improve that face-to-face teaching, and then focus on what matters to instructors most, which is connecting with our students, making sure that they're spending their time wisely, and yes, making sure that we create and incorporate assessments, hopefully authentic assessments, that really allow them to apply what they're learning and demonstrate their learning achievement.
Great. Thank you so much for that answer. Mac, do we have time for a couple more here?
I think we do.
All righty. So how about this one? With student schedules and life demands varying so widely, what advice do you have for us about face-to-face contact in real time? Does anybody want to tackle that one? Oh, is Dr. Leigh, are you?
I think Dr. Clay was speaking, but she was muted.
I was reading the question. I see it right there. Is it from Joanne?
Yes, yeah.
Is that, Joanne, are you referring, I'm guessing, to like live lectures? Is my guess there? We've had a new modality introduced, I think, beginning in this summer, other distance mode, where professors would have a scheduled time where they would deliver a lecture, and students would, you know, be expected to attend during that time. So that's one way we had like more face-to-face with student like lectures at IRSC. And then just for myself and my classes, just because it's more flexible and more open, I'll have some general collaborate sessions, you know, that students can attend if they want to, or if they have any questions, so they can get them answered by me kind of directly. So I hope that helps to answer the question.
Well, very good. Well, we will allow the conversation to continue. As they say on those auto auction shows, the bid goes on, right? And so we'll continue to dialogue with you. You've got our contact information there. Any of these panelists today, we're all your colleagues. Reach out to us. There'll also be a way that you can reach out through the email that you'll get after the webinar. We do encourage you to fill out that survey. It gives us feedback on, you know, what's meaningful to you about this experience, and helps us plan for future webinars coming up in the future. So thank you very much for your time today. It is the top of the hour, so you guys have a great day.